Hello, I'm Sandy Powell, and welcome to the Roundtable. I have my very good friend and a special guest, Dr. Delta Joyce Outley, the CEO of S.A.V.E. Welcome, Dr. Outley.
Good morning, Sandy. Thank you for having me on this wonderful show.
I'm glad you came. You and I know each other for a long time ago.
Yeah.
So we're just going to take our gloves off and just sit back and have a chat about the wonderful thing that you're doing in our city at this time. S.A.V.E. Tell us, what's S.A.V.E.?
S.A.V.E. is standing against violence education, birthed forth to try to suppress our crime in the city. There is a high number of crimes, not just murder, but we got aggravated assault, we got robbery. There's 7 different things that we call the 7 deadly sins,
Which are?
in the state of Georgia. We have them. They're murders, rape, robbery, assault, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, and auto theft. Those are our 7 deadly sins in the state of Georgia, and they are all on the rise at this time. Some a little higher than others, but the one that really catch me is our murder rate in Columbus.
Now, Columbus, I moved to Columbus in '91. And at one point or time in Columbus, when I first got here in '91, this was a place where I felt safe to raise my children. I felt like, oh, this is just a really laid-back city. And fast forwarding to today, not so much.
Not so much. We are a welcoming military city because of Fort Benning, Georgia.
Right.
And but it seems as though things have shifted and transitioned, that we are just a high crime city, and things have changed, and we should be concerned about the safety of our children and our families, and even now our schools. So S.A.V.E. came aboard not only to just be a part of what's going on to help out, but to collaborate in partnership with other great organizations that's already.
That's right.
And our police are doing a great job. What we have in the city,
Exactly.
police is, but it's not the police problem.
You know what, Dr. Alley? Now, this is where I want to get to the meat of. Because we can talk, like I say, we can kick the horse, the dead horse, until the end of time.
Correct.
But it won't change the situation until we deal with the problem. The problem is just not, there's not enough police officers. The police are here to take care of the crime that's happening. But why is the crime happening? Why is our city gotten to a place where it's riddled with murder, robberies, rape? What's happening? What do you think is the reason for what's going on in our city?
Well, number one, when you take prayer to school, that's going to cause us a problem. Our population is 3 to 21 years old, but when you take prayer to school, that's a problem. When children are being suspended with no parent supervision, that's a problem. In some neighborhoods where there is no community centers. Community centers in our days, I grew up in Columbus. So, the community centers kept us occupied. It kept us with a place to go, a place to belong. The next thing, the village is gone. It used to take a village to raise our children, but now the village have dissipated, and that's an issue. Parental issues, parenting skills. And then the biggest thing, I think, is lack of jobs in Columbus, Georgia, or low-paying jobs where most families have to work 2 and 3 jobs to survive. So people are going to do what they have to do to survive, and unfortunately, that's breaking in our cars, breaking in our homes, and that is just not one thing. Gangs are very high.
On the rise.
On the rise.
Although we're pretending that they're not happening in Columbus. If you don't have your ear to the young people, you'll miss the fact that gangs are very relevant here in Columbus, Georgia.
Gangs are here.
They're here, and you know what? And they're growing, because gangs do what we call recruit.
Yes.
And they go after children to be a part of them or be in trouble.
Yes. You take a young man or young woman who don't have much at home because of finances, and you take a group of people, say, hey, I'll buy you the J's. and you become a part of our family. And so that's much easier than staying at home where things are not quite in order. So games are part of a family, make you feel family oriented. So games and other things have happened in our city to cause people just to lose hope.
Right. I was talking with a young lady yesterday, and she and I were talking about latchkey. You remember latchkey?
Yeah, I remember that.
Latchkey was about young kids, children coming home and being able to safely care for themselves in their home until their parents got home. Don't you think we are living in the fruit of the latchkey kids?
Could be. Also, we're living in the fruit of social media, quick access to cyber, quick access to being in the place of media access.
Right.
You can find whatever you want to find on your smartphone. So I
Right.
think that's part of what we're seeing as well, is that there's so much accessibility to our children.
Yes.
With cell phones and computers where they can access. So the latchkey was an issue.
Right.
But the issue is even larger now because you got access to social media
Right.
at your fingertips.
Right.
Yeah.
So the world, we used to be able to keep our kids behind the doors with the lock on it, and y'all stay here until I get home or whatever. Now the world is invited into our children's lives, unknowing to us and even knowing to us by way of internet or social media or things like this, and our children are lured in and out of things
Yes.
just by access through electronics.
Yes.
We have set our children also in front of computer games. Like you said, the mentality of having community come together and be a community is no longer in play anymore.
No longer in play. Two things I recognize as I've worked with S.A.V.E. over the last couple of 6 months or so, there is a lack of communication between the generations.
Yes.
And so we need to bridge the generation again. And then we also need to have dialogue.
Yes.
We need to put down our gloves and really dialogue and listen. We need to get into school system and find out that half of the children are not coming to school. Therefore, our schools are failing because the children are not even attending school.
Right.
So that's another issue.
Right.
And of course, the church faith-based community is absent when there are big issues. So I think that we need to relook at why the churches are not involved as a collective effort.
Well, if we go one by one in what you were talking about, the community not being a whole, you know, we used to be able to correct people's children in the community. You used to be able to stop little Johnny, little Sue, and talk to them. You used to be able to say, hey, what are you doing over there at Miss such house? She ain't home. You know, you used to be able to say that. And now, out of fear of retaliation or being harmed, or even the parent coming at you about talking to their child, the community has said, I'm not going to get involved. And then we go back to the schools. The schools have now, to me, now I've been in school to visit with my grandkids, and to me, the pace of what they have to do to get the curriculum done doesn't leave a lot of time for the teachers and the kids to have any kind of interaction.
Correct. I think we went wrong when we took prayer out of school.
We did that.
And when we took prayer out of school and we took PTA, really involvement of the parents with the teachers, because the parents have to be involved and communicate in a positive way with our educators. I think we really caused ourselves to reap what we sow at this time.
I think when I was a child, I remember PTA not being such a volunteer thing. Basically, PTA was you had to come because that's how you got your child report card. You came to the PTA meeting, and you got your child's report card.
Correct.
So it forced a interaction with the teachers and the parents, and somehow this new age, if you want to, mentality. It's just spreading across everything, and if you give people options, sometimes, most of the time, you're going to get the downplay of something.
Correct.
Even in the church, you said.
Yeah.
Now, you said we have failed in the church.
Yes.
And you and I both being leaders in ministry,
Yes, ma'am.
we understand the dynamics of that.
Right.
It's a two-way thing. You know, we're there to teach and direct and give correction and you know, information for our children to be developed. We can't touch them sometimes.
Correct.
Sometimes we're not allowed to even put our voice to them to give them correction or direction out of fear. Same thing in the community. You know, if you talk to my child any kind of way, I'm gonna leave your church and I'm gonna go somewhere else that my child can just play and have activities and do things like this or that and not necessarily be taught or developed. Do you think that that's a problem as well?
I think that's a major problem because church have to be holistic.
Right.
We must be able to touch the whole man, the whole child, the whole teen, the whole elderly, the whole singles, marriage. We have to be able to touch that, and that comes with a mature leadership in ministry to know what's needed. And so when we cannot touch children and youth, eventually you can look at that child to go into our criminal justice system because of decisions. And if some of us make, or some people make better decisions, then you'll get better results.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of what we're seeing also with the crime rate is that the children have, like you said, no place to go.
No place to go.
And nothing to do. And we know we'll come up with something to do. But if we're not guided and directed in what we're doing, it can go bad. And it's going bad. The kids are out, because I was a kid. I did little things as a child that wasn't nice. You know, we did little vandalizing things just to prove or dare.
Yeah.
But we also had to look out for everybody that was possibly watching us and what we were doing. And it was so minimal because you dare not get caught doing something that you wasn't supposed to do. But now the community eyes are not on the kids. We're just all in a rush to go about our business, to be about our business, and I can't get involved. Our children are coming up with their own things to do. They have no fear. They have no reverence. You know, you can't really talk to young people like you used to be able to talk to them.
I think we can, Sandy, talk to young people as we once have, but it's a different language. It's a different verbiage.
Tell me what the language is, because I need to know I need to go and read up on it so I can learn the language.
Well, it's always changing. My thing that I think I've been fortunate and blessed with is keeping millenniums around me so that I can hear the language, hear their hearts, not being judgmental. So if we keep millenniums around us and not push them to the side, because they are unique. They are different.
Well, now here we're gonna split the road up a little bit.
Okay.
I don't think there's any difference in the millennium children than when you and I were kids. I think what we have done is we have, like you said, we have taken God out of everything. And whenever Christ is not the center of something, then you have a different people. You know, we had a reverence for the house of God as children because we were taught that. But the millenniums, if they were taught that, would follow that. And I think that that's the language difference. The language difference is because what was given to them wasn't the same as what was given to us. What do you think about that?
I agree with that to a certain degree, but we got to understand we're living in different times. We have cyber worlds. We have social media, whereas when we didn't have cell phones. We had street lights, and that worked. I think that we have lowered the standard.
We have.
And when we lower the standard, then that's what we'll get. We'll get crime. We'll get rape. We'll get assault. We'll get all these things. I think we need to go back to letting the standard of God still be the standard of God and not compromising.
That's exactly.
That's 100% what I think.
You and I are in the same agreement on that because I believe the same thing. I think that because if we give the millenniums a pass, that they don't have to hold the standard to which we had to hold the standard as children, then now God would have to come up with a different Bible for them.
No.
So what we have to say then, we have to go back to the fact that the standard that was given to us, like you said, bridging the generations, the generations somewhere along the line, we didn't give to this generation what was given to us. in when it comes down to that word. And so now we're having to go back and do double time. Now, where we used to hear, and every generation, I'll say this, every generation was always super to the previous generation. My mom and them, had outside bathrooms. Thank God when I got here that the bathroom was on the inside.
Right.
Okay, so every generation, it was better off as far as technology than the previous generation.
Yes.
But what we're not passing down, we're passing down the things.
Correct.
But we're not passing down
The God.
the God. We're not passing down the morals, the values, the integrity. We're not passing down those things. And not only that, but we're upholding the ungodly things, and therefore it's like every seed does. Whatever it sprouts is much greater than what was put in the ground.
Yes.
And so save
Save.
is going back to what? To get this thing.
We're going back to the foundation. Foundation is that problems and issues start at home. So there will be parenting classes. There will be parenting coaches. We know that there's an education. If you don't get an education, you already set up for failure. So we're real big on education. We're big on taking teams into high school, middle school, that 4th and 5th grader that's on the bubble. We want to make sure that we get them early. We also want to be visible in high crime community that nobody wants to go into, but we don't want to just go in for the photo op. We want to go in. We want to go in and get to know grandma.
Right. That's
we want to go know Uncle Bubba. We want to be very interactive with our communities.
Right.
And then financial literacy is another part.
Yes.
It's tax time and folk gonna spend a lot of money.
Come on.
And
don't go to the mall.
Yes, ma'am. And don't go to Walmart. I barcode Walmart to at least July.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And restaurants.
But that comes because no one is teaching stewardship. Nobody's teaching tithe and offering, saving, budgeting, that you may have enough money for the rest of the year.
Right.
It is not Christmas.
It's not.
It is time
Christmas is December, Dr. Alley.
Yes, ma'am. So those things are being mirrored and mimicked by the next generation. And S.A.V.E. come aboard to try to break some of the cycles that's been going on. And we have a lot of gang members because they have not been taught love in the home.
Proper love. Because they have a kind of love that they say they have for each other. But when it gets right down to it, it all seems to be keeping of the self, not necessarily keeping of you. It's self-preservation. That's what I was trying to say. It's only preserving me, and if it's good for me, and if it's helping me, then you and I are good. But the moment it's not good for me, then you and I are not family anymore. It's a problem. And so that's a kind of a conditional love, but that's not the love that we're talking about.
We're talking about the God love. And when you love God, you'll know how to love your family, your friends. You'll love your neighbors as you love yourself. One thing I do want to reiterate, S.A.V.E. is not about one individual. There are great organizations in our city that's doing great work. My main goal is to bring everybody to the table so that we all can do what we do best. We can do our specialty. So I'm soliciting everybody that got something positive going on where we can collaborate, not reinvent the wheel, not trying to be name dropping and titles. We really just want to serve. I think it's a way to get back outside the church. And that's my heart, that we've been in the church, Sandy, too long preaching a gospel that some people don't want to hear until they can see a sermon, then they can see Jesus Christ.
Exactly. I believe that the churches should show the community in it. In other words, my church, your church, it should show every aspect of our community. And I know you're working hand in hand with law enforcement.
Oh, we're having an awesome time. I'm in the police academy now for pastors. Knowledge is power.
Yes, it is.
There's a relationship being built between pastors in the Columbus Police Department. I'm partnering with Marshall Department, Great Countrymen. We have done some outstanding partnership. Even over the holidays, we gave away coats, and then there was a kickball game.
I saw that on Facebook.
And so The relationship is real strong. We're looking to reach out to the sheriff real soon, and to try to bring the mayor on board, city manager, so that they can be knowledgeable of what we're doing for this city, because we want people to know Columbus as a city that's
Right.
safe and fun.
Right. Now, I did say earlier off camera, I think we were talking,
Okay.
that what's happening in Columbus is not necessarily affecting everybody.
Correct.
But S.A.V.E. is going to show or speak to, if it's affecting me in this community, it should be affecting you.
Correct.
And so can you speak to that? Because this is not happening in every neighborhood in Columbus.
It's not happening in every neighborhood yet, but sooner or later it will. And I think that what happens is that we bury our heads in the sand until it's us. So I agree that it's not happening in every neighborhood yet, but to some degree crime affects every
It does.
neighborhood
It
as it is. It may not be murders yet in that neighborhood, but
Right.
it may be burglary.
Right.
It may not be burglary, it may be rape
Right.
or auto break-ins.
Right.
So we really got to come together, and the elephant is definitely in the living room. So it does not affect everybody
Right.
the same, but everybody can be a part of the solution.
Well, I don't think we can be a community and have one part of the community affected by something which I call a cancerous thing, and not feel like at some point, because we know cancer, it just doesn't stay in one place, that is not going to spread and go someplace and be a part of the entire community or affect the entire community. So I think until everybody understands that whatever is happening on my side of town, eventually it's going to cross lines and cross barriers, don't you think?
I know it will. One thing that we're trying to do, an attempt with S.A.V.E. is that we're in all parts of Columbus, not just certain communities, but our goal is to reach all parts of Columbus, to educate everybody what's going on in our city, so we can know, if it's nothing else but to financially sow or to become a volunteer,
Right.
to the point that we can see what's going on in the North Columbus as well as South, East Columbus, and West Columbus, that we know this is one city, one Columbus.
I know that we know that crime happens from a lack of needs being met,
Correct.
a lack of discipline within the home, or children being cared for by a parent or a guardian. They're allowed, because the Bible says this, that a child that's left to themselves will bring shame to their mother.
Correct.
And so I feel like if we have more community hands-on with kids who parents have to go to work,
Yes.
who parents is taking that extra job to make the ends meet, because you can find yourself caught between, I make too much money to get assistance, or I don't make enough money to support my family. And that parent or parents get caught up in, I gotta go to work, but in the meantime, who's gonna care for my child if I don't have extended family to help? That child could also be pulled on by the street, to be pulled into something that they shouldn't get pulled into. How do we get this child? How do we help in this area? What are some ideas that S.A.V.E. has for these parents?
As we go from different areas, different schools, different churches, Boys and Girls Club, we would like for people to identify a child that's on the bubble right now. We're about intervention.
Right,
And so if we can identify them, we would match them with mentors,
right,
coaches,
right.
churches that will really service that child, Boys and Girls Club that would allow the child to come in and really just expose them to something different for a day. We're planning, in the planning stage of doing a one-day summit where we stay all day at Columbus State and really teach our young people about entrepreneurs,
Right.
college education, technical school, getting a trade, and how to cut grass. And if we expose them to them, there will be a great follow-up to make sure they stay on target. So to identify them, we need the help of all parts of the community, not just one part.
Right. Do me a favor and and tell me what this bubble is again, so that we'll know what to look for. You said this child is on the bubble. What's the bubble?
This child could go either way, meaning the child could go back down the right path or go down the wrong path, meaning they're on the fence.
Okay. Okay. Well, we're going to take a quick break.
Sure.
And we'll come back and we'll wrap up some information for those who want to be a part of S.A.V.E. So meet us back here at the round table in a few moments. Hi, I'm Sandy Powell, the host of the round table, where we'll have discussions that are relevant to us all. See, I understand the importance of communication. It breaks down barriers and it gives us understanding. And if you're about real solutions to real problems and you want to have real talk, meet me here at the round table every Sunday evening at 6:30 p.m. at WYBU. I'll see you there. Welcome back to the round table. I've been having great discussion with my good friend, Dr. Delta Outley, about her program, S.A.V.E. And it's time. Dr. Outley, this is your time to make an appeal. Tell us how we can be a part of this crusade, this new movement.
We can be reached on Facebook. Also, our website is coming up. Our news media is much behind us. Also, you can reach me on Facebook, Delta Outley. I'm always talking about S.A.V.E. We'll be coming to the libraries, to communities, and you can see us all around the city. We're black and red with T-shirts that say S.A.V.E. So we'll be social media available as well. We'll be in places, flyers, barbershops. You'll see our name all across the city.
We're also going to make it available on the broadcast here that you can see her information, below a number that you can reach her at, a place of business where you can reach her at for her program. This is an exciting thing.
Thank you.
It's gathering our children back
Yes.
from the hands of the enemy while we save our community and make it safe for everyone to be here. I thank you for being a part of the round table and sharing conversation.
Thank you so much. This crusade is on.
It's on.
We're really excited. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us here at the round table. We'll see you again next week for more good talk.
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.